Welcome to the Vol Report, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. And my guy Coop has a new haircut. We're going to get into that, preview Virginia and all that good stuff. And the Vol Report, again, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. And what's with the new do, Coop?
Man, just trying, fresh start, something different. I don't know. It'll always grow back was my mindset. So,
That I think it's tight. I think it's kind of GQ ish.
man, that's what I've been hearing. Everybody's saying it's what I needed, but they never knew it's what I needed, I guess. So I'm
Yeah,
I'm rocking with it.
you look like a different person to some extent. And yeah, I could see you like on I'm imagining if they ever bring back the body issue with ESPN the magazine, you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember.
This is the haircut you go with because man, that it looks hip.
Yeah, man. I've heard Travis Kelsey. I've heard apparently Brad Pitt had a character where he had a buzz going. I don't know. I'll take Travis Kelsey and Brad Pitt.
I get George Clooney all the time.
Does that work? I mean, it's all depends on you, man.
I get the redheaded George Clooney. No, 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 I don't. But nevertheless, can you believe it? Football season's here. We're going to talk about Virginia, and we're going to get into a lot of things. But the off season seems to have flown by. Does it? Can you believe football season's actually here?
Yeah, no, it sneaks up on you every year, but man, it seems like the older you get, the time just goes by a little bit quicker, and you kind of look back and you're like, dang, it seems like just yesterday we were in, the little Orange Bowl, getting done with that, and you were like, little off season break coming up, but then it all molds in, and then you're in fall camp, and then you're in the season, and then by the time you're in the season's over. So yeah, it just goes quick, man.
Yep. Want to be respectful of the process here, in terms of you being banged up, which everybody knows about. Josh Heupel said so a couple weeks ago, and I don't want to get into really whether or not you're going to play, but if you can just talk about the challenges of not being in practice recently, and kind of where your spirits are and all that.
Yeah, spirits are good. Spirits always going to be decent good around here. I don't really get too down on anything, especially stuff that's not really in my control. I try to keep a level head and an even keel mindset. But the biggest challenge really is just not being able to, not really being able to go through the struggle. You know what I'm saying? I take a lot of pride in being out there and being in the middle of the fight with my guys. So anytime you can't get into the fight with them and help the cause, it kind of it stings a little bit. But it is what it is.
Yep. And then, but you were saying in the last time we visited, you're sitting right next to, I think it was Addison Nichols. So you're very involved, and man, you got so much knowledge up there to pass along. You're still a very valuable part of this team. What can you do to help out when you're not on the field?
Just kind of get in where you fit in. I've talked about that before. I feel like, but just finding a way to use any opportunity you have to do good in somebody else's day. I think there's a lot of people out here that are on the O line that are younger guys and that are trying to figure it out and trying to figure the game out. And you know, somebody that's older than you sees something going on. I think it's crucial that the older guy helps the younger guy because as smart as you think you are as a young person, like you don't know what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's not because you're not smart. It's just literally because you haven't been put in a position to know and see the whole picture. So I've been trying to do that a little bit. Even guys like Ollie, even though he's older, I think I've played the position and kind of can see some stuff that maybe he hasn't seen and hasn't dealt with before. So I just try to get in where I fit in, really.
What do you think about Ollie? Tell me about him as a person. Any insight you can give about Ollie, would be great. What's he like?
Yeah, Ollie's a man. He's this is hard to put into words, man. I don't know. He's a low key dude. He isn't very outlandish and out all over the place. He's just a a Gibbs Eagle, at heart. He's a quiet guy, but a smart guy and a guy that is going to play hard and knows what he's doing every play. You know, but really just a Tennessee ball. Just orange running through his veins.
So, I would think any opportunity he gets, he's super excited about.
Oh yeah, I bet he is.
Yeah. So, uh, are you able to, what are some of the when you talk about being in real meaningful games, he's played before, but when you talk about being in big time meaningful games, what's some of the advice you pass along to him?
Um, really, just I don't know, just preparing him for what's coming, but at the same time, not overhyping stuff. I talked to him about stuff like when I was really, I mean, he's played a lot of football, so it's not like he's foreign to what it takes and everything. But sometimes when guys haven't played in a little bit and they get in there, people tend to think that they got to be like Superman or that it's going to be like the NFL out there. Like when I first came in and started starting, I was like, oh my gosh, like the anxiety was through the roof. Like I was just kind of like I hype up these people in my head. And I'm like, there's no way I can play with them. But then you go out there and you play fine, and you're like, it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that bad. And the more you play, the easier it gets. But I think the biggest thing for when you first start is just really thinking that everybody's better than what they really are. I mean, you're all grown men out there at the end of the day, and it's pretty evenly matched.
When you're talking about anxiety, I would imagine most people, if they do anything in front of 100,000 people, there's going to be anxiety. How did you quell that? How did you control that?
Dude, I'll tell you what, I went to a little pep rally at Grace Christian Academy over there in Knoxville, and I talked in front of like 1,000 people maybe, and like just kind of was like over there getting them hyped up or something about their pep rally. But that gave me more anxiety than playing in front of 100,000 people, honestly. I mean, just different stuff is different for everybody. But once you do stuff more often, it just gets kind of like secondhand. I think last year was the first year that I felt really, really comfortable in kind of playing every game and just going into the game with confidence. I think when I was out there my sophomore year, I was banged up, and that messed with my confidence a lot because I felt like I wasn't the same player that I was before, getting banged up. So I think just being able to have success out there and have prolonged success and just doing it, the more you do it, it just becomes, it really is what it is once you figure it out. It's just a football game at the end of the day, and you're going out there to play hard and just follow your rules. That's all it is.
How do you make sure that this latest hiccup doesn't affect your confidence? Just being more mature?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I know that when I come back, I'll be full strength. So kind of one of those things that I feel like I'll be able to take care of and be come back just as strong, if not stronger. And you know, it's different than when you get an ankle. You know what I'm saying? When you hurt your ankle, it's kind of something that's unavoidable that will bother you all season. So I don't know. That's where my mind's at.
Yeah. Let's talk about Virginia. So I'll be honest with you. I've just started to take a look at them, and I'm curious what you think of their defense, what they'll bring to. I almost said Neyland Stadium, what they'll bring to Nashville in the opening week.
Yeah, so I see a defense that plays, very hard. I think that's the step one. You see a lot of teams in college football. I mean, even some of the, more acclaimed teams, they'll get tired and they won't play hard anymore. It just you can see the drop off. And I think these guys sustain through the whistle, and I think they sustain all game. So that's the first thing that jumps out on tape about them. And then the next thing is they've got guys that have played a lot of ball, and that they kind of you can tell they know football and they know how to play within their technique and within their leverages. And that's always going to present a challenge in and of itself. But yeah, I see a good defense.
Yeah, and I would think that would be one of those schools too that, and this is going to be the case all year. You guys, after what you did last year, you're going to get other teams' best shot. I mean, I would think they would look at this as this would be a monumental win for the program.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think when you look at when you look at how the outlook of the season, it's harder when everybody talks about it's hard getting up the mountain, but the hardest part is really like staying on top, where you're at, and because everybody's going to get you're going to get their best shot, like you said. Whereas kind of last year, I felt like for the majority of the games, I think there were some games that we dropped out, that we dropped a little bit, but I think a lot of people got our best shot, and they didn't really expect that out of us, and I think that allowed us to capitalize on it early. But nowadays, we're gonna get everybody's best shot, so we got to come out there and match that energy.
When a lot of times in opening games, you don't know, you don't see the same personnel that you saw the year before. They basically got, I think, almost their entire defensive line, if not all of the starters, back this year. When you're breaking down a team, how helpful is that to know that you see the guys out there and there's not some surprise guy out there that might take you aback a little bit?
It's good, it definitely doesn't hurt. I think it's great when you can get a deep dive into someone and their play and kind of find out their tendencies and see how they win, see how they lose, find their strengths and weaknesses. But more film is going to help you find all that stuff out. But it also lets you know what you're going to go against too, and that's like what I was saying earlier: an experienced D line that knows how to play football and they know how to play, hard and sustain it. So more film you have on somebody, the more you can dial it in on them. But especially with our offense, a lot of people play different defenses, a lot of people play different personnels, and we're always on our feet about stuff like that because we know that no matter what the film says, somebody could come out and play us completely different than they played everybody else all season.
No, they definitely could. I know they got a couple of edge rushers and Chico Bennett Jr. Love that name.
Yeah.
And I wish my name was Chico.
No.
And 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 Cam Butler. What do you see when you see those guys off tape coming off the edge?
Yeah, I mean, that's really who I was kind of addressing when I said that they come out on tape and you can see that they play hard. They're kind of guys that you see win a lot of their rushes and get a lot of their pressures off of kind of maybe they get blocked, maybe they get bodied up and they don't have just a clean win, but there's guys that will keep going, keep pressing the pocket, and instead of just shutting down the rush when they get latched onto, they'll continue to press it, continue to go power, and that kind of closes up pockets really fast. So we're gonna have to do a good job about straining to the end of the whistle and making sure we drop anchor and don't let anybody get pressed in the pocket.
I read somewhere, and you can't trust sports writers when it comes, me included, when it comes to breaking down football sometimes, that they had a bend but don't break defense. Before we talk about if that's even accurate, what does that mean to you, a bend but don't break defense? Is that really a thing, or is that just somebody that's giving up some yards in the middle of the field?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems to me like a very broad paintbrush term to me. Like they don't really know what to call their defense, so they would just like put that on there. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
I
I,
don't
I don't know. I would say that I don't. I don't even know what that means really. I mean, I do know what it means. Like I guess, see, theoretically, you could say our defense in the Orange Bowl had a bend but don't break because it seemed like they got to the red zone and they would just throttle out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's bending but not breaking, and then they miss field goals, and that greatly changed the game. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that sport writer is right. Maybe they do have that. I don't. I think
but
that's defense.
but
I
I
think
think
it's
it's a fun.
valuable.
But talking to you, and with the rapport we have, it makes me think that the term's funny. I've never thought of it as funny before, but I don't think any defense comes out and says, "Hey, we're gonna let you guys get about 8 yards here, okay?" And then about 12 yards after that. But when you get close to the 20, that's when we're really gonna start to play.
Yeah, no, that's. I don't think anybody has a philosophy that they. I mean, I think everybody would want to be rigid. You know what I'm saying? Don't even bend. But like you said, I mean, no, nobody really thinks about that. Maybe they just end up playing like that. But I don't think that's their mentality. I think that would be a probably a fallacy in my opinion.
I agree. I'm officially never using that term again. What are challenges that are unique to an opener? as opposed to any other game, just the first game of the season? What are some of the challenges that players go through?
The biggest challenge the players go through or teams, probably?
Let's go with individual players. Individual players.
Well, individual players, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hotter than most of the games you're gonna play in throughout the year because this is the tail end of summer. It's gonna be hot. It's probably gonna be really humid. We play a high tempo offense. So first challenge is breathing, oxygen, out with carbon dioxide. That's gonna be the main focus in your mind, probably the whole game is how are you gonna survive? So that's probably A. And then kind of when in that same breath, you kind of go to the team struggles, and that's just kind of finding a way to gel. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
First game is always going to be rough for anybody, any team, unless you return back all 11 starters or whatever. But you know, you haven't done it in a long time. You haven't done it in like I guess I don't know how many months we go without playing, but like 8 months, something like that. Does that make that probably about around in there?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, we've practiced, but nobody's gone out there and played real football. So that's always I mean, it's like anything else. If you drop it for 8 months and then try to pick it back up, it's probably not gonna be exactly the same, and it'll take some time to warm up, but usually it goes back pretty quick.
I would think you could be in the best shape too. And when that adrenaline hits, that doesn't hit Monday through Saturday at practice, but it hits in a game. And then there's got to be a little bit of a crash that you've got to overcome.
Well, the main thing is, like, everybody can practice hard and, like, you can practice as much as you want and, like, you can condition as much as you want, but, like, nothing will ever replicate the intensity of, like, a SEC game. I don't think, like, you really feel like you've been in a car crash after, like, a game, realistically. Like, I don't think people realize, like, you'll see it on film sometimes against, like, really good matchups, but, like, the violence between the 2 human beings coming off the line of scrimmage, if it's where it should be, like, it's pretty it's a lot of strength and not a lot of breathing will be had after that.
No.
And then you
Now,
gotta line up and then you gotta line up and bend over and do it again, pause. But, like, it's it's
no,
hard.
I've said it before because I've stood on the sidelines of an NFL game, and I think that there's I think a lot of parents that have their kids play middle school, which is kind of when you start, if they saw an NFL game, they might try to steer them away from it. Because, I mean, and it's the same in college with the level you guys play. It's a very physical, violent sport that I think sometimes gets forgotten.
If it's played the right way, it should. That's the simple fact of the matter is that this is the highest level of college football, and it should be very violent when you see it played, especially week one when everybody's bodies are fresh. Yeah, for a couple plays at least, and then people are going to start getting tired. It's gonna get it's gonna get a little bit lazier. But those first few plays are going to be, or they should be.
Yep. This guy plays it the right way, lives life the right way. We love Cooper Mace. Hit that like and subscribe button, turn the notifications on. We appreciate that. And it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. And Integrity Matters, 50 years right there in East Tennessee. For Cooper Mays, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.